Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery, and today I'm finishing up reading Living Sober. Really good book, has a lot of good information about how to incorporate principles of the AA program and just good living in general into your general recovery program. So I found a lot of value in this book. It's from, again, AA World Services if you want to pick up a copy. I'll read just a paragraph from the last section of this. This section is titled Finding Your Own Way. And when I read the title of this section, I immediately thought of the idea that AA is not the only path to recovery. Now, it turns out that's not exactly what this section is about. I'm going to read a paragraph from this section, and then I am going to talk some about why AA is not the only path to recovery, even though it's the one that I have chosen and identify with most at this point in my recovery. But reading from the book, they say, most of us have seen death close up. No, I didn't want to read that part. That part's a little depressing. As you stay sober, you are sure to think of new ideas not recorded here. We hope so. We also hope that when you do come up with fresh ideas on this subject, you will pass them on. Please do share. You'll recall the act of sharing itself can be helpful to you. The more experience we can all pool, the more problem drinkers can be helped. So here again is the idea that one of the most important things in recovery for anybody to engage in is to help other problem drinkers. We can expand this idea and to say help other people in general, but a lot of, and I think that's good for spiritual work as well. But a lot of people really find the most benefit to their own sobriety when they're working with other addicts and alcoholics. So AA is the program that was introduced to me that was most available in my community. And it was the program that I started out with. And when I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, even though it's been almost 100 years since that book was written as of today, it is the book that resonated with me so much. In that book I identified with, and I felt like I had finally stumbled on people who understood the condition that for so long I thought was unique to me. I thought that my alcoholism and my relationship with alcoholism and addiction in general was something that was unique that nobody would understand. And here I found this book that just explained everything exactly as I experienced it. That being said, AA is not the only way to recover from alcoholism and addiction. It certainly is one of the most popular and one of the most prolific ways. But for example, there is refuge recovery, a Buddhism-based recovery system that is here in San Antonio, Texas. There are several meetings available for that. There's Celebrate Recovery, Rise Recovery. I recently had a friend tell me that they have been working with TLC recovery system that offers a different perspective. All of these are based on the idea of fellowship and either behavioral. Oh, and I can't leave out smart recovery. Smart recovery is another method that's based on, got a basis in cognitive behavioral and dialectical behavioral therapies. I think I said that right. But regardless, there's all these different ways and methods and paths to choose from. And there is nothing wrong with exploring all these different paths and finding the one that fits most for you. I was surprised that AA fit well for me because I had really avoided AA and I had explored smart recovery before. That appealed more to the logical, scientific side of my brain. But I found the meetings that I attended in early recovery of smart recovery less uplifting for me. I don't know. They just didn't do for me the same thing that the AA meetings I attended did. Um, I know people who had a different experience in smart recovery. They went to those meetings and it really spoke to them. So the important thing is not what path you choose, but that you choose a path and start to walk down it. Even if your path is, well, let me explore all of these methods of recovery, do that. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to do things one way in order to be successful. The only thing you have to do to be successful is to move forward. You can't, if you are an alcoholic and addict, then by definition, you cannot be successful in recovery and continue to use alcohol and drugs. So you've got to, that's the only prerequisite here is in order to recover, you've got to figure out a way to do it without using alcohol and drugs. The good news is there's lots of different paths out there for you to choose from. And as technology has increased and especially adapted to the COVID pandemic, a lot of these different meetings and groups are available online. There's online meetings you can attend that make it easier to explore different avenues to recovery, even in places where in-person meetings for that particular type of recovery program aren't offered. So don't be concerned if you have tried AA and it's not for you. Don't be concerned about that. Just go on to the next group and give it a try and see how it works. The other thing I'll tell you about AA though is just because you go to one meeting and that meeting isn't for you, try another meeting, because every AA meeting has a different personality, different groups of people. And I have been to some AA meetings that I did not like at all and would never return to. I prefer discussion that isn't completely centered around God and higher power. That's just me. And I've been to most of the AA meetings I go to, that's not what the conversation centers around. But I've been to some meetings where every person who spoke about their higher power and their higher power's influence in their lives, even if that wasn't the topic for the day. And that doesn't mean that's wrong. That's just the way that they are working their program, and that's totally okay. But I just knew that probably wasn't the meeting for me and moved on and found another one. And again, if you're in a place where there's a limited number of in-person meetings, even if you don't like that meeting, there's online options available to you these days. And I know for a lot of people, the online is not the same as the in-person experience. It's understandable, but if you don't have a choice, the best thing to do is to go online, get your meeting in online, rather than not have a meeting at all. So again, the idea is the only wrong path is there's no wrong path, there's wrong movement. So, no matter what path you're on, move forward on that path. As long as you're not sitting down in the middle of the path and doing nothing or moving backwards on the path, it's okay. So we finished up with Living Sober. The next book I'm going to read is The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And this is a book that is in the self-help transformation aisle of the bookstore, which is one that I steered clear of for a large portion of my life. But in early recovery, this book was very early recovery, and before I was even fully in recovery, when I was just exploring stopping drinking. This book was recommended to me, and I read it. This was about 4 years ago, and I read it then and really, really resonated with me. So I want to reread it now that I am in complete sobriety and have been in recovery for a little over a year, and see what I can get from it now. So I'll start with the Untethered Soul tomorrow. You can get it online. Most bookstores have it. And we'll see what it looks like now that I've been in recovery for a while. In the meantime, hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with more.